In the final days of World War II, as Europe buckled under 6 years of destruction, a small fortress in the Austrian Alps became the stage for one of history's most unusual last stands. This is the story of Castle Itter, a stone stronghold where former enemies stood shoulder to shoulder, united not by allegiance, but by the urgent need to protect innocent lives. The year is 1945. The Third Reich is collapsing, front lines are dissolving, soldiers are surrendering, and chaos reigns. In the midst of this turmoil, Castle Itter served a unique purpose. It was a special prison for high-profile French political figures, former prime ministers, military generals, and cultural icons, men who had shaped pre-war France were held captive within its walls. As the end of the war neared, the castle's guards found themselves in an impossible position. Their chain of command had vanished. Communication was cut. With no orders and no support, many simply abandoned their posts. This left the prominent French prisoners in a perilous limbo. Were they free, or were they merely stranded? Vulnerable to roving bands of fanatical soldiers still loyal to a dying cause. Recognizing the danger, the prisoners decided they couldn't just wait. A few cautiously slipped out of the castle, venturing into the uncertain Tyrolean countryside in search of Allied forces. Their journey was fraught with risk, but it led them to an unexpected encounter. They met German soldiers who were disillusioned with the war, men who had decided their duty was now to protect local civilians from the pointless violence of the regime's final days. One of these men was Major Joseph Gengel, an officer in the German army. He had already defied his orders and was actively working with the local Austrian resistance to prevent further bloodshed. When he learned about the vulnerable French prisoners at Castle Itter, he understood the gravity of the situation immediately. They were a high-value target for die-hard SS units still operating in the area, who would stop at nothing to prevent their liberation. Major Gengel made a decision that would defy everything the war had stood for. He knew he couldn't protect the castle alone, and needed help, and the only help available was from the approaching American forces. He resolved to contact the very soldiers he had been fighting against just days before. He reached out to a nearby American reconnaissance unit led by Captain John C. Jackley Jr. At first, Lee was skeptical. A German major asking for help to defend a castle full of French VIPs. It sounded like a trap, but Gengel was persistent and sincere. He explained the imminent threat and the lives at stake. Captain Lee, a hardened tanker, weighed the risks. With the war all but over, protecting these prisoners felt like the right thing to do. He agreed to help. And so, one of the most bizarre alliances of the war was formed. A small group of American soldiers, led by Captain Lee, joined forces with Major Gengel and about a dozen of his loyal German soldiers. Their combined mission: race to Castle Itter, secure the prisoners, and defend it against a likely attack. They were a tiny, cobbled-together force. Lee had his tank, Besotte and Jenny, but his men were few. Gengel's soldiers were armed but weary of war. Together, they drove toward the castle, a strange procession of former enemies united by a common purpose. When they arrived, they found the French prisoners anxiously waiting. Some of them were old political rivals, but now they stood together, ready to contribute to their own defense. The castle itself was a medieval fortress, strong but exposed on its hilltop perch. It offered good vantage points, but it would be a difficult position to hold with so few defenders. They didn't have to wait long. Soon, the telltale signs of an approaching force appeared. A Waffen-SS unit, estimated to be around 150 strong, had been dispatched to assault the castle and execute the prisoners. They came armed with machine guns, mortar, and an anti-aircraft gun they intended to use against the castle's stone walls. The Battle for Castle Itter began. Captain Lee positioned his tank to block the main gate, providing crucial firepower until it was destroyed by enemy fire. From the castle walls, American GS, German soldiers, and even some of the French prisoners fired down on the attackers. They were hopelessly outnumbered and outgunned. Their ammunition was limited. Every shot had to count. Inside the castle, an incredible scene unfolded. A German officer, Major Gengel, coordinated the defense alongside an American captain, Frenchmen who had been imprisoned for years picked up rifles and fought beside the very soldiers who represented their former captors. It was a microcosm of unity in a world defined by division. They weren't fighting for a flag or an ideology anymore. They were fighting for each other. The fighting was intense. The SS forces relentlessly hammered the castle, attempting to breach its defenses. The defenders held their ground with remarkable courage. Tragically, during the battle, Major Gangel was struck while trying to move a former French prime minister out of harm's way. The German officer who had initiated this incredible alliance made the ultimate sacrifice, giving his life to save another. Hours passed. Ammunition ran critically low. The situation seemed hopeless. The defenders were exhausted, their perimeter shrinking. Just as it seemed the castle was about to fall, a new sound echoed through the Valitha rumble of approaching tanks. Captain Lee had managed to get a runner out earlier to call for reinforcements, and now they were finally arriving. A large American relief force from the 142nd Infantry Regiment roared into view. Seeing the arrival of heavy American reinforcements, the SS attackers knew the fight was lost. They quickly broke off their assault and retreated into the surrounding hills. The battle was over. The siege was broken. Inside Castle Itter, the exhausted defenders looked out as American soldiers secured the area. They had done it. Against all odds, this small, unlikely band of allies had held the line and saved the prisoners. The French dignitaries were officially liberated, their long ordeal finally at an end. The Battle of Castle Itter took place just 5 days before the end of the war in Europe. It was a strange, heroic footnote in the final chapter of the conflict. It's often called the war's strangest battle, and for good reason. It was the only known time that American and German soldiers fought side by side as allies during World War II. The story serves as a powerful reminder that even in the darkest of times, individual choices matter. It shows that humanity can transcend the hatred and division of war. Major Gangel, Captain Lee, and the men who fought with them chose to see past the uniform and recognize their shared duty to protect human life. Today, Castle Itter still stands, a quiet monument in the Austrian Alps. Its walls hold the memory of that incredible day when enemies became brothers in arms, fighting not for victory or conquest, but for the simple, profound cause of doing what was right. Thank you for watching. If you found this story as incredible as I did, please like this video and subscribe for more hidden histories. See you next time.